Peace, peace. Good day to you. Pray all is well. PREY. Wishing you success, of course. So, listen, we really have to come together. Um, Again, to my heritage, to my ethnicity, our unity is necessary in this. And to all people, our unity is needed. Period. Because we are living in a corporate dream. We're living in a corporation's system. In the United States government is a federal corporation. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation. You understand me? So how can you be governed? How can any government exist when it becomes a corporation? Then at that point, the government itself is just putting out statutes, as they say, codes, as they say, to regulate their employees. The thing about it is, we as quote unquote citizens are not actually employees. You got to get that. So even with when these lawyers do these things, when these, people in these official positions do these things, and, sometimes they're not given what many of us would consider the full extent of the law, it's because they work for the corporation. So, they catch a slap on the wrist. You still got to punish, right? I still got to beat you for acting foul, but it's undercover. You understand me? They're still an undercover agent. It's an undercover move. So I'm not gonna kill you. I'll shoot your leg, so you can still walk. You'll just have to get surgery. And that way we can keep the guys going, keep pursuing like we're doing, keep the energy on deck. But the way that it's also super winning is through the ignorance of us, the unified ignorance. And ignorance is just not knowing. And then they also do purposeful actions that cause ignorance, to keep you ignorant. Gotta understand me. So if you're out here and you're starting to hear these conversations about people speaking about being free and universal law, which is something that Malcolm X touched on during his time on this planet, and conversations that Martin Luther King was beginning to really engage in, the sciences, or the Moorish science, where they speak about how you're, again, a human. You're not paper, or not a monster. You're a creator, really. You understand? You are of divinity because you can manifest life. Now it takes you and the counterpart to manifest life. You understand that? But you are of the supreme. You gotta get that. So it's worth the while, one, to poison the food, poison the air, make these poisonous machines and so forth in order to deprive us of our natural divinity, But I'm at you right now, though, because I found this community, New Human, New Earth community, and there's just been some really hefty articles or readings that I found in here, and just this one in particular, because again, I'm still going against West Virginia State. I'm still in that situation, you understand, and standing on the Constitution, because I'm no longer subjecting to their fuckery, and I know it's fuckery. You understand me? You get that? So I can't continue to subject myself to their fuckery. I have to stand on it. And with how my tactics on standing on it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I can look at others' experiences and derive information so I can have the proper awareness for certain things that may come about or could come my way, and they may even be hidden or disguised, but I can see certain remnants and pieces through others' experiences. You understand? So that'll allow me to make my attack fortified, my posture fortified, and my emotions and so forth. So um again, and I'm speaking to our unity because we're all the human race, and everybody's colored. You get that? You're white, you're colored, you're white. It's a color. You feel me? Black, brown, but they don't say yellow, right? And they don't say red, but they got black, brown, and white. You peep that, right? Black, brown, and white. You got to see that. But they don't say yellow. And that's even offensive if said. And they don't say red. But we're all colored. We all have tones and complexions. We're all colored. Some of us lighter colored than the others, but we're all colored. You gotta hear that. So don't let them fool you and confuse you, because the idea is to utilize words, and your lack of knowledge in words in the language is part of why they are winning and we are in this pool of ignorance. So it's necessary for you to gain the knowledge of the language that you speak. It's necessary to do so, to know what words mean. To my community, my ethnicity, we have a way of flipping it. Period. We turn terms of death into terms of endearment and love with connotations and tones in it. But we also have to really give the proper respect to the originality of the word and not let it sit in our language and take space, because it's still a negative word. You understand me? Or and not even to say negative, but it's still a destructive word. Okay, so I'm at you right now, though, because I want you to see a couple pieces. I want you to start taking in recognition about who you are and the fact of, you are supreme. You got to get that. And I'm pushing for those who hear me, grab the Constitution, because it's the supreme law of the land, and be in know of it. Period. Because we can really exist in the current context of the world that exists now. We can really have this utopia. It's possible. It's possible to really have the utopia, because money is a construct. That's it. The real idea, the real ordeal is the energy exchange between the individuals. That's how anything happens. That's how all of this has come about, because we as individuals, as human beings, and I mean, when you go into the U.S. Code, pardon me, and you see the term individual, they defined it for their particular. You got to understand that. And even Black's Law Dictionary, they defined human being as particular, to to exist within that language. You understand me? They define it that way, so it exists within that code or that language law, only in that sector, only in that space. So I give you, again, individual, or a person, actually, through U.S. Code, that they define a person as being an individual or a corporate structure, a private entity, or a legal entity. And something else I forgot. Pardon self. I don't feel like looking it up too. So, but look it up. Like, do the diligence of looking these things up, so you see for yourself the the language that was being used, and it'll allow you to start having a thought, because everything is about keeping you down. Period. It's about having you run the maze. Period. Your energy is needed. Period. And you help others do and get. Period. Just in the same sense for yourself. You need the energy of the next person or persons in order to get to your next level. You're not doing this by yourself. You got to understand that. Whether you sit down and have a conversation with Bob and Bob drops a dime on you, or you're just expressing to Bob how you feel about what you're doing, Bob's taking that energy that you're putting out. So he has a component in your path. Or maybe Sarah spawned this idea, sparked you with an idea through the conversation that you had with her. She may not be the one making the phone calls or connecting you with other people. I mean, other people do that too. So again, we all are in this, tapping on each other, helping each other go forward, willingly, unwillingly, knowing and unknowingly. And the real deal is to be in a space of willingly, knowingly perpetuating help, abet. That's the real deal. That's what many of those men and women who were assassinated were speaking on. That we need to come together. Period. Which is necessary. It truly is. Because they're getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. So, alright, I don't want to keep this will turn into too much time. So again, gotta stay within time constraints. So I found this, which is it's called Withdraw Consent to be Governed. Freedom from servitude. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. And again, this is newhumannewcommunities.com. Specifically, this article is a useful screed, but an important edit. And it might be creed, but it's SCREED, screed. So could have been a spelling malfunction. Which is written by Anna von Reitz. Yeah, so I went specifically though. I read it, and now I'm going to a specific point that I want to push out to you. Excuse me. So again, this is in reference to you comprehending that you can't be governed. You govern yourself. That's it. Because even if you can even remember, like how they would show the West, there was a sheriff, and that's it. And the sheriff had deputies, and the sheriff didn't know nothing until the said person came over and said, "Sheriff, I'm having a problem. This person, that person, this person, that person." And then the sheriff would go through the process, make the investigation, so forth, and deem what needs to be done on the basis of said person saying, "I have an issue with said person." Now you introduce corporations. You introduce entities that are a representation of a human being, but they are not a human. So the blame can be pushed on that direction, but not on the actual human within that system. So it's just so wild, man. It's so wild. And everything's so interconnected. So alternatively, if the prosecutors bringing a claim are shown to deliberately lie or misrepresent material fact, or to lie about that applicable statute, or fail to bond the case, or the judge in the statutory court can throw the whole case out the door with prejudice, and the issue cannot be raised again. If the procedure is not airtight, the case is not airtight, which is why procedure takes up such a dismal amount of time and attention in statutory court. The object is to acquit the judge, not to guarantee justice. Okay? So, sometimes it takes so long to actually get into court, right? Because they're, manifesting the briefs for the court and for the judge. And it's so ill though. Like, magistrate is just a civil officer of the court. Yet the magistrate lays up whatever proceedings for the judge to look at. Crazy. So it goes on to say, we saw an example of this in the Bundy case where federal agents outright lied and misrepresented fact, and the judge reacted by throwing the whole thing out the door with prejudice. They endangered her by lying to her, so she was well justified in this reaction, which just happened to serve the cause of justice too. And you understand that you have to really take on this language, like you've been damaged by the court, you've been injured by the court systems. The officer engaged in egregious acts against you without your consent. There was no crime involved. You have to really get your language into these realms, these meanings of words, and utilize them against them. That's the real idea. Because if you're truly out here living life, then you shouldn't be fighting another human being. Period. We should be able to come to a proper understanding. Because listen, there's mad other things that are against us right now. And specifically, the United States government, the states itself. And they're all corporations. The city of Newport News is a corporation. So at that point, I stand and I say, how do you have any jurisdiction over me? And you're a fucking corporation. So again, that's one of my other fights that I'm on as well. But that logic has to start being taken, because what you want to do is be responsible for you being human. You are the supreme. You are. Period. Male or female. And it's unfortunate. It sucks that our female counterparts, or our women, were treated as such. When you have to have a woman in order for another life to manifest. But they want you to get away from the natural order of law, the universal law. So they're creating, and they're not human in my opinion. They're creating beings outside of the human spectrum. Period. So here with this point that I want you to get is that and I'll just get to it, that your rights can't be taken away, even in accordance to the Constitution. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, your rights are unalienable. They are unalienable. Your rights are unalienable. And they manifest systems in order to make you believe that your rights can be taken away. But if you don't stand on them, and just solely the Constitution, like everything else is a statute, everything else is a code. If you don't stand on just the Constitution, they're going to try to trick you up, flip you up, play you up. Period. Now you can file these codes against them that they're in violation of, because they're a corporate structure. But you gotta see that you are the supreme. When they seek to tax you, they seek to put you in tow, they seek to keep you in the hamster wheel, utilizing your energy for their purpose. Period. So, statutes are not law. We are not U.S. citizens. Statutes are not law. To be convicted under a statute, you must have my consent. We do not give our consent ever. We are not U.S. citizens, i.e., we are living souls and not a deed entity written in all uppercase letters on a piece of paper or bond paper being claimed as a vessel owned by another living or dead entity. And for my ethnicity, my heritage, that last name, you know what I mean? Because that last name, you're derived of a slave. owner, slave master. Check out Mom Elizabeth Freeman Bett versus John Ashley, which was her slave owner. Now, she changed her name to Elizabeth Freeman, but she gained her freedom by standing on the Massachusetts Constitution. So this is why I'm even pressing you to get down to the bones. The Constitution, known as the supreme law of the land. Period. Get down to the bones. And we really build. And you got to see this too, though, when you get your mails and different letters that you receive in the mail, the way they write your name out. So, this right here is what I really want you to get. A statute is not a law. And here's the case logs in reference to this. It's a couple. A code is not a law. Again, here's a case law that reference it. A concurrent or joint resolution of legislator is not law. And it's not, because there's a joint resolution, and I think it's 192 or 194, HJR, I think it's 194, that he came out with during Clinton's reign, in which it talked about not reparations, but I think it was restitution for African Americans. And it only really spoke to just, we're going to try to figure out, we're going to think on, what we're going to do is think on ways that may be able to give some redress. That's it. That's it. That's their resolution. I believe it's HJR 194 or 196. I'll find that out to be sure and post it. But again, that's a resolution. The statutes, codes. And West Virginia is hitting me up for I'm in violation of West Virginia code, and the officer is making criminal complaints against me for violating code. And I'm like, how are you making criminal complaints when there's no crime involved? So it's just so heavy. But you have to start getting knowledge. You really do have to start reading these laws and these books about the law to really comprehend it. Because you don't even make these statutes. You understand? You have no make in the statute. No manifestation in the statute that's being made. Because if you did, then it would be fair for everyone. You gotta get that. And so we have to start having that. And they're going to go crazy when more people start getting involved into the making of statutes and codes for them to abide by. Like, the license itself. Do you even know, like, the rules and regulations of the license? Like, who's coming up with that? Who's sitting down and saying all these rules and codes to be a driver? Are you doing that? Is your mom or your brother or your sister? You understand? What position do they play in order to do that, if they are? So, again, Black's Law Dictionary, it's a good one to read because it does let you know the language that they're using. I just don't submit to their language because it's facetious. Period. It's facetious. I know it's fraudulent, and it's purposeful fraudulent language to trick you, word spell you, to guise you in a different direction, to make you feel less of, to deprive you of. But be knowledged in what they're using, what tools they're using. There you go. U.S. Supreme Court decision. The common law is the real law, the supreme law of the land. The codes, rules, regulations, policies, and statutes are not the law. And they're not law. And it says that by saying, look up the word. Look up the words. Codes, rules, regulations, policy, statutes. Those are corporate functions. Period. How about this one, right? U.S. Supreme Court decision. All codes, rules, and regulations are for government authorities only, not human creators, in accordance with God's laws. All codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process. And they do. Because think about it. The taxing codes themselves, they take your property without even charging you, and then you having the ability to stand in the court and say, hey, no, you can't. They tell you if you don't pay this within a certain time, then we're going to take your property. That's what they tell you. And you can just please, knowledge. We have to knowledge up because it's going to take all of us. There is the foundation moving, and it's happening across the world right now. And the main thing is here in America. People are looking to America because America really is the melting pot that can be, where the existing of humans on this planet can really thrive and be together. But it's been a fraudulent act. The neon sign of America is disgusting. When you look underneath it, when you look behind it, the blood, lives, bones, sacrificed. And I mean, look, and it's providing you the case log with the numbers, docket, so forth, so you can see for yourself. Here's another one. Supreme Court decision from 1796. There, every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow man without his consent. And you have to consent, you know what I'm saying? But we're born into the traditions of. We're born into the system of. No, they don't need your consent. You get me? Because you're born into it. You don't even know. I mean, the Matrix was telling some truth. There are no judicial courts in America and have not been since 1789. Judges do not enforce statutes and codes, which they should not. Executive administrators enforce statutes and codes. And again, statutes and codes. But again, we have to all stand on this. We all have to get up on it. Again, hear it again. There have not been any judges since 89, excuse me. Okay, this is a repeat of the same thing. Pardon self. The Supreme Court was warned because of what appears to be lawful commands, statutory rules, regulations, and codes, ordinance, and restrictions on the surface. Many citizens, because of their respect for what appears to be law, are cunningly coerced into waiving their rights due to ignorance. Not knowing, right? But look, it's deceptive practice. It's constructive fraud. Barratry. I might have said that incorrect. Legal plunder, conversion, and malicious prosecution in inferior administrative state courts. Yeah. Straight up. So again, it comes back again. The common law is real law, the supreme law of the land. The codes, rules, regulations, policies, and statutes are not the law. They are the law of government for internal regulation, not the law of man, in a separate but equal station and natural state, a sovereign foreign with respect to government generally. Yeah, of course. Of course. Period. Think about that. You are of supreme. So whatever governmentality that's manifested, corporation that's manifested, they need you in order for them to exist. Here you go again. A concurrent or joint resolution of the legislator is not law. No, it's not. It's not. Here we go again. All codes, rulings, and regulations are for government authorities only, not human creators in accord with God's laws. All codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process of law. There's your case log for it. Again, and look, Rodriguez versus Ray Donovan, U.S. Department of Labor. Lacking due process of law in that they are void for ambiguity in their failure to specify the statutes applicability, thank you, to natural persons, otherwise depriving the same of fair notice, as their construction by definition of terms aptly defines the applicability of such statutes to artificial or fictional corporate entities or persons, creatures of statute, or those by contract employed as agents or representatives, departmental subdivisions, officers, and property of the government, but not the natural person or American citizen immune from such jurisdiction of legalism. You gotta see that. Like, you have to get that. Because it's corporations. The bottom line is, it's corporations that are making these laws that are tying us up. Period. And those people who are in these positions, those people who have made it to the top and they got the millions of dollars and so forth, once they reach a certain level, if they want to continue to exist, then they have to be a part of the system in its entirety. That's why you got Bill Gates running around talking about population control and implementing the Impossible Burger into Burger King for a limited time to help usher in population control. So, last one here, and again, just to repeat, because a lot of times repetition is what really brings forth understanding. So, a statute is not a law. A code or statute is not a law. A code is not a law. And here you go. I mean, you see the case log. So check them out. Read them for yourself. I mean, it's so ill though, because even with the way that the judges write up these case logs, they fill it with so much fuckery. They fill up these case logs and their decisions and so forth with so much blah. That's wild, to say the least. So I think I might be surpast my time. I probably have to cut this in half. But listen, our unity is necessary, and it's going to take all of us to really have the peace that's needed and that we all want, because we all share in it. You know, you're on a different path going in the same direction as the next person. You want to eat good, you want to live well, you want to laugh, you want to have a companion. So we're all there. This perverse individuality that's being promoted is ridiculous. Of course you need to be an individual. Of course you have to have your own stances and, you know, be solidified in who you are as a person. But your energy as an individual is needed for the economy, the ecosystem, that we live in. You know? Period. Because we, in my belief, we are the guardians of the planet. So we're supposed to be taking care of the planet, working to manifest sustainable renewables, period. I mean, we should be exploring space by now. Like, really exploring space collectively, period. We know what our planet is, you know, Antarctica and all that. I mean, the levels of technology that are being made. Check out Wim Hof, the Iceman. He's even learned how to fortify his body to experience extreme conditions, which is possible through proper training of self. So, I just want to keep pressing on you. Our unity is needed. There are beings at work working to keep all of us dormant and docile. I'm out here. I seek to feast. Period. So I welcome your plate to the table. You know what I mean? But you be honest in what you're cooking. You be honest in what you're bringing to the table. Because there's no need to be facetious. It's not necessary. We got so many outside enemies attacking us on an individual, collective level. Everything's personal. You're a fucking human. Everything is personal. So outside of that, make sure you take the time to love yourself. Take the time to heal yourself. Give yourself a certain level of, accommodation and comprehension for coming to certain life decisions that you made. That, now you look back, you weren't fully informed or you made them impulsively and so forth. It's okay. You did that. Take the responsibility for what you've done. And then also give that love and that patience to those that you love and love you. Because our unity is needed. There are beings at work and they are working to keep all of us dormant and docile. Peace be with you.